freedom is calling on the other side of the wind. So we keep on walking, though it tears through our skin. Feeling like a warrior that's not afraid to bleed. The fight inside's in all of us, so we won't concede. You can't hold us down, no. You can't hold us down, down, down. You can't hold us down, no. You can't hold us down, 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 yeah. Down, 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 can't hold us down. Every day's a battlefield between the light and the dark. Angels and demons try to tear us apart. Heavy on our shoulders is the weight of the world, but it makes us stronger, though the pain it burns. You can't hold us down, we never give up. Walking through the fire and the flame can't hold us down. 'Cause when the going gets tough, we're tearing through the metal chains. Can't hold us down, 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 yeah. Down, 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 can't hold us down, 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 yeah. Down, 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 can't hold us down. You 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 can't hold us down. We never give up. Walking through the fire and the flame can't hold us down. 'Cause when the going gets tough, we're tearing through the metal chains. Can't hold us down, 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 yeah. Down, 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 can't hold us down, 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 yeah. Down, 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 can't hold us can't hold us down.
Well, hello, and welcome to Talking Normal. And as always, I've got my tag team partner here, Miss Rosemary Dalton. How are you doing, Rosemary?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic. And I know that you wanted to get right into some of the things with your credentials as well. I know that some of the people that are out there, because of the sabbatical that you took for a while there, may not be familiar with you, but you have been around the movement for a very, very long time. So I'm going to definitely open the mic up to you, allow you to do this. And also after that, explain how we're going to do the open mic night and kind of some of the rules that we want to go by on that.
Sounds good to me. Well, I'm Reverend Mother Rosemary Dalton. I've earned my title through the ULC Church in Modesto, California. My credentials are right here. I'm clergy. I have paper with seals. I go through an international college, accredited college, to do my religious studies. I've been doing that since 2014. But before then, we'll go further back. I started in the family rights movement in 1997. That's when my son was taken, and I got with a group called VOCAL, Victims Against Child Abuse Laws. And that's the first organization that I ever heard of. And I got with them and started affiliating with them. But before then, before the family movement, I was in the LBGT rights because I had friends that were gay and they wanted to join the military. And that was back in 1993. And I was on the front line in Austin, Texas with the flag, my face painted rainbow, walking down that line, 16 years old in 1993 when the gays got to be able to get in the military. That was our march for Fort Hood, Texas. We marched all the way through Austin, which is the capital of Texas, and that's where I was from. So I've been doing the movements and civil rights since 1993, since I was 16 years old. So I've been a very big activist throughout my life since I was a kid. Civil rights, police brutality, the police things. I was in Ferguson as well. I helped do the Ferguson thing. And I've been through many different movements, not just the family rights movement, animal rights. When the cows got loose in St. Louis, I was one of those 6 cow lives matter, and got the farmers to come buy these 5 cows that escaped the slaughterhouse. And we got the 5 cows saved, because I am also an animal activist. You know, this isn't about just one particular movement for me. This is my life. This is what I do. I'm also a public award-winning speaker. I've done seminars. I do things like that. I do events on anti-bullying. I do autism awareness, ASD, Asperger's, which is autism spectrum disorder, and I explain it to the schools and give just demonstrations of it and illustration of PowerPoint. And I do rallies and with it, and how to act and behave with these students, and teach them love and logic parenting. So, and I also deal with drug rehabilitation. I help with people who have drug problems. I do drug counseling with them, and I do family counseling, and I'm not contracted to any state. So I do a lot of different things within the areas of any particular movement. I'm also a child abuse advocate. I speak for children that are being severely abused. And people don't know what abuse is until you walk into a situation and there's 3 dead kids on the floor and 3 still alive that are starved to death. And you walk into the hordes that you walk into. That's child abuse. Those parents deserve to be in prison. You know, and when you walk into these matters, you have to be the child's advocate, period. You can't think about the parent at all. These parents put these kids in a situation. And some of the times when you walk in these situations, it is bad. I have seen some of the horrid things over the last 20 years. I have seen things that you could not even imagine. I have seen feces all over someone's house, drugs. I walk in, bring these kids home from school because I'm a safe place. You know, I'm a neighborhood watch. I am the neighborhood watch captain in my area. And these kids, I have a safe zone on my house. These kids know I'm a minister. These kids know that I'm safe. They can come to me. They can stay with me until their parents get home. If they got locked out, whatever. And they know as soon as their parents get home, their parents can retrieve them from me. And it's no problem. They stay safe. But there was one time parent didn't come. So I had to go to the parents' house with this kid. And I walked in, they were completely just methed out. And when I walked in, there was dirty diapers everywhere, feces everywhere, dirty dishes piled up with the maggots on it. And these kids had filthy clothes, and there was no clean clothes, and there was no food in the house. So what do you do in those situations? I don't know what to do. I mean, what do I do? Take the kid? I took the kid back to my house, and I'm like, well, we'll wait to the parents. But then the parents didn't come too, and I got worried. So I had to call the cops to make sure to do a adult welfare check to make sure they were still alive.
Right.
I mean, I don't like CPS. I will not call CPS. That is like not my agenda. But I will call the authorities if a child's in danger, because that's a criminal act. Mm-hmm. Period.
Right.
If a child is in danger, I will call the cops on you. I will have you arrested for child abuse. Period. Mm-hmm. And there will be actual proof that child was abused.
That's right.
You know, and that's just the way it is. Because as an advocate, as a mother, you have to protect these kids. They need a voice. And they're the most precious things in the world. Somebody's got to protect them. There's been so many cases that, am I government shield? No, I do not work with CPS. I refuse to work with CPS. I will not. I believe if there's child abuse, it should belong in the criminal courts, period. I don't believe there should be any family court involved. It should be criminal courts, children go to family, period. That's my bottom line. My always recommendation, find a family member.
Right.
With family.
Now, somebody's saying that we have audio issues for some odd reason. Do we still have audio issues out there? It's going to take
no idea.
Yeah, it's going to take about 11 seconds to let us know. Do we have audio issues? Do you guys have audio out there? Are you hearing us? We'll see here. Okay, audio's fine there. So I don't know. Maybe it was somebody else's audio. Yeah. So okay.
What it comes down to is I've been doing this a very long time. Well, in 2014, I had a calling and I became a minister because I wanted to do more for my community. And that's what it was, is more for my community. This wasn't for online. This was for me to help my community the best of my abilities.
Okay.
I went to school. I started in college back in 2009, 2007 to 2009. I went to college, got, some things taken care of. I started in criminal justice, criminology, anthropology, study of culture, criminology, the study of the criminal mind, criminal justice to learn the criminal justice system. I did political science to learn the government system, how it works and runs. I also did community service in our mayor's office, and I had to do the minute books. Well, did you know they have 2 minute books? They had their minute books that they put for audit, and then they had their minute books that they keep all the secrets in.
Right.
Found that out too. So there's a lot of corruption in a lot of different areas. So if somebody comes to audit them, there's an audit book, and then they got their secret book. There's always 2. They always do 2 minute books. One is for right down to the letter of the law and what to the line, and the other one is to put in what's missing, so they know. And it's like, oh, okay. I worked 10 weeks in the mayor's office, and all kinds of things about the mayor.
Right.
So it's just different things. And that was community service. That was the only way I could pass my class for political science. And then I went through sociology, psychology, child development. I went through computer classes. I went through Microsoft Word to understand what Microsoft Word was, Office 2010. So I could do PowerPoint, so I could do the things so it could help me. So these are the things I did, and these are the things that I passed these courses. These are my courses that I passed. That means I am, that's what I'm credentialed in. I studied this.
Mm-hmm.
So with me studying all this, I was like, no, I want to change my profession. I had this calling. So I went to a ministry school, and because I died. I had a heart attack. I died. They brought me back, and I didn't want to do what I was doing. I wanted to do something bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So it changed my perspective on everything.
Right.
So I went and I became a minister because it's a calling, because I became very spiritual very quick. And it's like I was touched by God. I was like, oh my God. It was like an eye awakener. It was like I was completely woke up. I see things that I should not be seeing. And it disgusted me. So then it made me, I'm doing all this biblical study, and I went through all these courses, and I got my associates in religion. Then I went and got my bachelor's in religion, and now I'm working on my master's in religion.
Mm-hmm.
And I've earned my degrees and titles where I'm a Reverend Mother. I went from just a minister to a Reverend to, chaplain and stuff like that. And then I went up to the Reverend Mother. It just, you work up your levels by the courses you take and the education that you got behind your belt. The more education you have, the higher the level you're granted. And that's how it works. And it's a double honor because I'm doing God's work. So I went and I did all this, but in 2015, I opened up an organization, an LLC, a limited liability company, MAFA LLC. There's 2 parts to MAFA. There's the ministry part, and then there's my profit part. My profitable organization is a private membership. It's a volunteer service, and there is membership fees. It's stated in how it's registered. It's a $36 membership fee a year, but I waive it. All I ask for is 5 hours of community service, 1 per year, and your time and your skills. That's what I want. I want your time and your skills, and I waive your fee. And you get all what MAFA offers to you. You get the resources, you get the research, you get the teams, you get all that thing. That's what that's a volunteer service. That's a profitable organization. Is it ripping people off? No, because we offer services. We offer help. We offer support of everything that you could possibly need throughout an entire case. If you need a lawyer, we look for lawyers that will help you on your sliding scale. We find resources that will help you. And that's what we are. We are a network. And then we built MAFA LLC, Mothers Against Family Abuse. Well, that's ministries. That's a ministry of civil rights organizations. That means there's many. There isn't just one in MAFA LLC. There's many. And I mean, there are hundreds that are connected to MAFA LLC.
Right.
And they are civil rights organizations. We try to find what people need. We have 501c3s connected to us. We have 504s connected to us. We have all these different organizations that are connected to us like a bridge that we guide people. This is what your category is. You're a mother. You're having your trouble. We put you with mothers groups. You're a father. You're having troubles and all that. We put you with fathers' rights groups. We find you lawyers that help you, groups that will support you, groups that for your needs. And we place you where you need to be. We find you good advocates that won't hurt your case, that will be there for you. We find you legal advocates that know their laws and knows the right skills and techniques to do it. We find you the resources that you need. And we vet people. We do a very big vetting system. We do background checks on everybody. Every advocate that's ever come through MAPA they do get background checks. We do not allow advocates that have severe criminal records. Why? Because you could be a rapist, a murderer, a child abuser, a pedophile, and I don't want those kind of people in MAPA. I just don't, because I'm against child abuse. I'm against pedophilia. I don't want that around my families. I don't, because we work for families. This is a family coalition. This is not just a child organization or a parent organization. This is the whole family unit. And we don't need those kind of people disrupting the healing process of these people, because some of these people come here for healing. Right. You know, whether it be helping recover from drugs and not doing it, giving them the support they need so they can call, so we can sponsor them. And so they're not referring back to the alcohol, they're not referring back to the drugs, they're calling us. And we talk to them, or we prevent suicide. They call us all hours of the night for suicide calls. So we're there for them. And that's what it comes down to. Yep. So I help guide, I research laws, I find tools. I'm also an ICWA specialist. I took further education to further help my people, because I became ICWA, because ICWA does apply in my case. ICWA applies in a few other people's cases that I know. But the problem is I might be an ICWA specialist. The state can call upon me, ask me to see if ICWA is being applied correctly. And my job will help them with their genealogy, help them get what they need, to help them get with their tribe, make sure they're enrolled correctly. Once the tribe gets involved, I have to step away unless the tribe allows me to be, period. All I can do is get you to that point and make sure and reassure ICWA is being applied from the very start until a tribe arrives. That's all I do. So that I can be called in for that. That's what else I do. So, and I scored an 88% on my ICWA test for my course. So it means I'm pretty proficient, because you have to score an 80 or above, and ICWA is very hard to understand. So I did very well on that test. So I do a lot of things for a lot of areas. Now, my background, you won't find anything on my background unless you dig real deep. And that's when I was 18 years old, a kid. I'm 41 now. Okay. And when I was 18 years old, I was common law married, where common law applies. And I had an ex that was extremely abusive. He was military, and I lived on a civilian land. Military base was right next to us. And he beat the holy hell out of me while he was in bed with another woman. I walked in it from work. He beat the holy hell out of me. And because he broke my elbow and I bit him on his torso, the cops said someone had to go to jail. I called the police. He beat me up. I had a broken elbow, busted lip, bruises around my throat, bite marks, broken ribs. Even my mugshot showed it. And they took me to jail because they said someone had to go to jail. Well, I was a civilian. He was military. So they don't arrest military personnel when you're that close to a base. Military deals with you. So someone had to go to jail. I was a civilian. So I got arrested. I went to court. It took me a year, and they dismissed my case for self-defense. They said it was not my fault. It was self-defense. Biting on a woman is self-defense. He broke my elbow. When he snapped it, instead of screaming, I bit down. He was so close to me. He had my arms behind me and snapped my elbow in half with his combat training. And it hurt. Right. So I bit, and I got thrown in jail for it. I had a $200,000 bond. My charge was assault and battery, bodily injury to government personnel, which was BS. I got a pro bono lawyer who thought it was BS. The military got me that lawyer. It was a retired judge. The military hired that lawyer for me because it was their soldier that did this to me, because JAG couldn't do anything for me. So they hired the lawyer. The military paid for it. I got in there. They dismissed my case because he was abusive. And then they annulled my marriage. And that's how that went. And that's as simple as that. Yep. The only other thing on there is when my identity got stolen, my purse got stolen, my checks got stolen, my bank account was closed out because of it. There was a police report. that everything was stolen. My ID, my birth certificate, my social security card, and my checkbook. All the numbers that were in sequence was reported stolen. But because the person that stole my identity never got caught, they left the warrant out in my name. They already questioned me. They never closed it out because there's somebody out there using my identity and building this all up. I've had to fight for my identity stolen for many years since I was 18 years old. I mean, shoot, I have an account that has $4.2 million in it. I ain't touching it because the FBI is watching it. They're waiting for the person that's using my name to come get it.
Right. Right.
So these are things that people don't know, you know. So no, I didn't do anything. That was it when I was 18. I haven't done anything since. I have no criminal background. I think I've had 2 speeding tickets. One was moved down to a non-moving violation. I don't talk back to the cops. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I'm a registered voter. I do vote. I'm a gun owner. I believe in my Second Amendment right. I stand with the 3 percenters. I've done them on the highway passes with them. I have stood with many different parts of the movement, Patriot movement, 3 percenters. I have stood with many people defending our rights. I was in the open carry march. I did all kinds of different kinds of things as an advocate and activist. So I've been out there all this time doing all this in the trenches.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like Facebook that much. I don't like doing Facebook a whole lot, but I'm out there. I give people inspiration. I'm a support advocate on Facebook, but here in the real world, in my community, I am an activist, and that's what I am. But on Facebook, I'm an advocate. I am a support advocate. I give the supports that you need, and that's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
So when we get into this, keep that in mind. I have to stay neutral and I stay unbiased. That's part of the rules of my organization. I have to stay unbiased at all times. So no matter who's fighting who, I don't try to get involved in it. I really don't. I try to listen to both sides. And then I try to tell you, hey, you got a misunderstanding. You guys need to work this out behind the scenes. It shouldn't be in the movement. Or, yeah, you guys got a serious issue. We need to resolve this and be a mediator to it. And that's pretty much what my job and era is to see what's really going on. Where are you guys missing it? Because you guys are all heated. And I have to be unbiased, even though it hurts me to watch you guys all fight like this. Because everybody has skills. Everybody has a role to play. And we should be moving together like a movement and not all tearing each other apart. That's what it comes down to. So rule number 1 of this open mic, 1, there's no bashing. If you start bashing other advocates in this call, you can call and talk about anything you want. But if you bash people, your mic will be cut off, period. Because that's wrong. We do not bash other advocates. 2, we do not curse. Try to refrain from cursing. You'll get 3 warnings. We're going to try to refrain from cursing because what if children are watching this? Try to keep the vulgar language down. 3, we do not try to expose anybody right now. You want to talk about how to make a bologna sandwich? Then we can talk about that. You want to talk about your case? And if you want it, we'll talk about that. If you have a question, we'll talk about that. But if you talk about, oh, Joe Blow did this yesterday and he got put in jail. Well, we're not here to gossip it. We're not here to rumor, period. Today is open mic to talk about what you guys want. What do you guys think the movement should be like? How can we achieve our goals? And where can we move forward from this? That's the whole point of open mic. So I want to hear from you guys because I need to understand what is going on with all you guys because I have not a clue. I've been on sabbatical for 11 months. I come back to a total nightmare and I am trying to get to the bottom of everything. And I know I'm not a government shill. I don't get paid by anybody. I am a low income. I'm separated from my husband. So there's a lot of things that I've been going through with me. And I did win my case with my daughter after 20 years. I lost my son in 1997 because I did all the methods everybody's preaching about. And I lost my son. I did my methods using the administrative tools and using the things I've done. And I won my daughter. And everybody that's used my ways and methods has won their kids. And I have brought home hundreds of children by using the methods I use. So you can either want to listen or don't. You want to pick my brain and ask me questions? Go right ahead. But we're not here to bash, and I'm not here to point fingers. And I'm sure in hell ain't going to sit there and tell you, no, we're not going to badmouth each other. This is not what this is for.
Absolutely.
So let's start bringing it in.
So let's start in. I know Amber Thompson has been on here for a while. So let's start in, bring in Amber. She does not have her camera on. That's fine. Amber, are you there? Hello? Amber? Not getting her in there for some reason. I'll mute her for right now. We'll bring in another participant. It looks like I've got.
She started recording.
She started recording?
Yeah, unmic her.
Okay, hold on here. All right. Amber. Okay. I don't know who that is and why they're recording. So, okay.
She's new to this.
New to this. Okay. All right. So Amber, what you do at the very bottom down there at the right-hand corner, there's a little button that has video and an audio. Just hit those real quick. Just double tap your phone if you're on a phone. Yeah, I'm not sure if she's in there. You're on a computer. Okay. Does the hopefully the computer has a well, I mean, you're logged in. Hopefully you have a webcam. Is that right, Amber? Do you have a web
mic
or a mic? Yeah. You guys aren't seeing this, but there's actually a chat within here. Yeah, I would log into it through your phone, Amber, and we'll get you back on. I promise you that. Okay. Let me stop that one here. And I'll remove you real quick here, and I'll get to the next person. All right, so let's move on here with Lori and Ben. I'll promote the panelist here. Let's see if we can bring them in.
You say Lori and Ben?
Well, it says Lori and Ben. Lori and Ben.
Lori and Ben, this is Schaefer's.
All right, how are you doing this evening? See if I get them too. I'm not getting Lori or Ben in. Okay. Oh, they came out there too. Okay.
They might be having trouble.
Okay. So
let's explain how Zoom works.
Yeah, how Zoom works is you need to actually log in to the Zoom link that we've provided for you, which I'll do it again real quick here. I'll copy this invitation. I'll put it down here. And hopefully you guys will see that. Paste. Okay. So hopefully you guys see that. It does give you phone numbers. Unfortunately, those phone numbers don't work for some odd reason. You do have to actually log on to the Zoom here. So let's see here. Let's do this real quick. Or promote to panelist here again. I'll give this another try. Okay, Lori. Do I have Lori or Ben?
This is Ben.
Hey,
Hi, Ben.
Hey, how are y'all?
I'm fine. What you want to talk about?
I don't know. It's just, well, we had some good news today. The woman, remember Sonia?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, well, she had a spot on
Hold on one second. I want to explain to people who you are. Ben and Lori are one of my advocates for MAFA. Ben and Lori are very much part of my board, and they've been doing things behind the scenes, and they do a lot of advocacy with many cases. And they use the methods that I taught them, and they will tell you that. And these methods do work in a lot of cases. Some cases are a little more difficult than others, and we have to keep trying and fighting. Not all cases do we win, but we do our best. And I've taught Lori and Ben a lot of things. Have I not, Ben?
Yep.
All right.
It's kind of dark here.
Yeah.
I'm outside.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it looks like it's dark out there. So have those methods worked there for you?
Well, for the most part, yeah. Like, our case is like so
Your case
corrupt.
is a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a nightmare for anybody.
In his case, you're dealing with, not only are you dealing with the state of Missouri, but you're also dealing with the tribe. You're dealing with all of it, and it's just all nonsense. It's all corrupt, and it's one right after the other, and it's been a very difficult case.
Right. Right.
I am Ben and Lori's support advocate. I do give them a lot of support. Even when I was on sabbatical, if they called me, if they needed me truly, I was right there for them. Have I not been?
Yep. Through it all, if it wouldn't have been for Miss Dalton, and whenever we met Rosemary, it was at a point where Lori and I were about to make a suicide pact because we felt like we were beat, like we didn't have any chance, and now like Rosemary's the one that gave us our strength back. And
awesome. That's great.
I am very proud of you guys.
Definitely showed us how to be stubborn.
You've learned to be strong and learned your voices, and that your voices do matter.
Mm-hmm. Well, Ben, you called in here. Is there something on your mind about the movement or anything that you'd like to say?
He said he had good news about Sonia.
Good news about Sonia. Yeah, go ahead and tell
that's basically what I wanted to say, because that's a big thing, whenever I actually searched for Sonia, because I've seen her mother, Tina Alvarado, had put a message out on a forum for Lampasas County saying her daughter was having trouble with CPS in San Saba County, Texas. And San Saba is my hometown. And she was granted a couple of months ago the first ever appeal after she got tricked into signing away her parental rights.
Wow.
She got the first ever appeal granted.
Wow.
And they sent her to a judge that she had already had previous involvement with, and she should have recused herself, but she didn't. And now she's starting up the program there in Lampasas County. I'm so proud of her. It about made me cry whenever, she called me yesterday and told me Lori went to work and I was here at the house, and my messenger kept ringing off the hook, and I was like, what is going on?
Right.
And I've been like happy ever since Sonia told me that, and since Miss Dalton said it's time to get back to work. I said, all right, let's go.
Yep.
Great job, guys. Great job.
Awesome.
These are the methods that I teach them, and I was been there every step of the way. I had to teach them how to be empowered. I had to teach them to use their voice and help others with the methods I taught them. Mm-hmm. And you can see there's a difference in them.
Awesome.
Sonia was on the news.
Yeah.
Sonia was on the news tonight.
Yeah, Sonia was on the news, 6 o'clock news, Channel 25 in Waco, Texas.
That's great.
Here after the show, I'm going to be sharing around the link to that in the video. It brought tears to my eyes because I was like, wow, she is so.
Tried to get help with CPS and they didn't help her.
Yep.
Well, I'm very proud, and you keep out there. You keep teaching people the way I taught you, and empower people and show them that they can be their own advocate. Teach them.
Yep.
Awesome, guys. So thank you guys so much for calling in, and we greatly appreciate you and everything that you do out there. So.
And I am very, very proud of you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Love you guys.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Rosemary. All right.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and remove them real quick. We'll bring in the next. I got a lot of callers. I'm not sure if it'll let me bring in any callers, guys. So if you log in, it'll be much easier. I'm going to try and get Amber Thompson.
That's just one of many, and that's success cases. These are what I do. I teach people how to teach other people to win. They might not win their own case, but I give them a purpose. I teach them their voice, and their case, Ben and Lori's case, unfortunately, it is a big case, and it is a nightmare. And I've done everything. I brought other advocates in. It is a nightmare of a case. We fought every tooth and nail. And when you fight against a tribe and the state, there's no out. There's nowhere to go. And
Right.
all we can do is give support. That's all we can do, and give them a reason to keep fighting.
Right. Now, guys, yeah, looks like it's showing me I've got 3 attendees. For some odd reason, it's not going to let me bring you guys in unless you actually log in on Zoom. You will need to log in on Zoom. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in the next person here. So promote to panelist. Let's see if I can bring her in here. Looks like I've got Monica on the line. Monica, how are you?
I wasn't expecting that. I'm like, what does this button do?
Exactly.
Because Jay said that he had a lot of people on the list, so I was like, well, let me just
Well, I
push the
do,
button.
but they're phone calls, and unfortunately, I can't bring in the phone calls for some reason. It only lets them listen in, but they have to actually log in. You have to log
Sure.
in order to be on the show. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
hello, I'm Rosemary.
Oh, I've been following you for a long time. And Jay also.
Well, how are you doing this evening, Monica, and what's on your mind?
Oh, I'm great. I'm married to Peter Shimonik. I don't know if you know him or seen him on Facebook or whatever, but he and I are very active with advocacy work in Connecticut. That's where we live. And he and I actually met at a lobby event almost 5 years ago. We had similar stories with the family courts, and then we ended up getting married and having 2 daughters. So it's kind of a odd thing,
Yeah, kind of an odd way to meet.
And I was in the wellness industry when my son was taken, and I have since restructured my business to only work with moms who've lost their kids in the family law system. And I'm just, I have more of a question because I'm curious about something, especially for Rosemary. Is she still on?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, she's still there. Okay. How do you protect yourself from like compassion fatigue with working with these parents? Because I'm kind of an empath, and I have a hard time. I have a hard time feeling present with some of my clients because I get kind of involved in their stories, and it's
Therapy.
difficult for me. And I was
I
wondering
go
what
to
you do.
therapy.
Oh, you.
I go
Yeah.
to therapy and I do whoosh and throw it out.
Yep.
And I have to do something, otherwise, because I'm an empath too, and I have to shake it off. And it's hard. I mean, you start feeling all these people's pain and you just want to fall with them. And you can't do that. You have to be unbiased. You have to listen to the whole story. And if you don't, because you might miss something. Because sometimes they are guilty. And then you got to figure out, okay, they are guilty. They messed up. So
How do I get out of this?
how do I fix this? How do we fix this? How do we make them better so they can have their kids? What can we do to help them? You find out, yes, they're a drug addict and they need help. They need support. Okay, we need to get you to rehab. We need to get you support. We need to get people that you could call on before you go and you do that mistake again. Let's get you the help you need. Get you into parenting classes and try not to be contracted through the state. We don't want contracts to the state. We try to get them these services ASAP to help them. And then we get them the affidavits from these people so they can be turned into the judge. And that's what we do. So when they really are guilty, we're not there turning our backs on them, but we're more trying to help them so they can succeed, or at least find a way to get their kids with family, one way or the other, because you can't help everybody. They have to want the help.
Exactly.
Yeah. Jay, what do you do to help protect yourself from compassion fatigue?
I get on the radio. Honestly, this is my therapy session pretty much. When we're talking about things, talking is always therapy for me. So if I'm on and we're talking about anything else, it takes my mind off of that one thing that I'm on. So I have this unfortunate ability that I wear blinders, so to speak, and I'm kind of like a racehorse. So it's just like, this is what I'm focused on. And in order to get off of that one thing, I have to go and focus on something else. And that's how I normally handle it, is I segment my life in a particular way. That kind of the other thing that I would suggest for you too, because you and Peter are in this, it would be very good for you guys to set aside a date night every week.
Yep.
And say, we're going to leave all of this behind for Friday night. And you do whatever you're going to do. Tonight is date night. I'm not picking up the phone. I'm not doing anything. You know, somebody else on my team is going to need to handle that right now. But a date night for you says, hey, I can concentrate on my marriage. I can concentrate on my family for one night out of the week, 4, 5, 6 hours, whatever it is that makes you feel
Or
like
take an entire Saturday and go to the lake, or go have a picnic, or go horseback riding, enjoy nature, or even take an entire weekend off and go camping. Reconnect yourself to nature. That's great for empaths too.
Yeah, and Jay, I understand you have some military background.
Yes, I was the chaplain's assistant, an ordained chaplain's assistant in the United States Army. I got ordained through the Southern Baptist Convention, and then I went on and served my regular duty at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Actually, now that we bring that up, keep Randy Davis in your thoughts and prayers. I know that he's in the hospital. He's got some issues with his throat. They're going to have to do emergency surgery. They're going to be doing that tomorrow. So, but Randy Davis, where Randy Davis lives, he can go up and All American Highway, and the actual chapel that I worked in is right up All American Highway in Fayetteville, Fort Bragg, North Carolina. So, but I spent a lot of my time doing counseling sessions and setting up counseling sessions for the chaplain. And I've even had my share. There was actually on Fort Bragg, North Carolina, the time we had counseling sessions set up with a gentleman who had just gotten back from Somalia. And the poor guy came back, had his counseling sessions, did his debriefing, still wasn't right, and we knew he wasn't right. Unfortunately, he went to see another chaplain that day, and they didn't give him the time of day. He went home, killed himself, killed his wife, and killed all of his kids. So I had to go during that time and counsel, the neighbors, because it was on a base. So you live on a base, you've got housing that's paid for. So, I mean, I've gone through all of these things. I've gone through the gambits of losing people. I've gone through the gambits of stopping suicide too. The only number that I pay attention to, Monica, as an advocate, is not the number of lives that I've saved. It's the number of lives that I've lost that I could not save. That's the only number that keeps me up at night. And, and that's hard to get a hold of. It really is. But how you have to segment your life, if you're an advocate in this, is you have to say, okay, this is my time dedicated to doing this. I'm going to give up my time, but you have to have a personal cutoff time as well, where it's like, okay, I'll do as much as I can for you, but there comes a point in time where you have to get your team involved and rely on your team. There needs to be a team of people behind you, or that you're working with, and kind of let them in on kind of what's going on with it. But you don't have to give them everything. That's for the person to talk to. And then you need to let that person know, hey, look, I've got a date night this night, and I'm not going to be available, but you can call so-and-so. They'll be there for you while I'm away. So.
Yep. That's what I had to do when I went on a sabbatical for 11 months. I left my whole organization in the hands of my advocates, Ben and Lori Schaefer, and a few others, Kara Zimmerman, and which they cleaned up a lot of the bad people out of my organization. And there was a few others. I had like a good solid team keeping MAFA going and keeping it safe and being there for these people while I was on sabbatical, because I need time to heal myself, because me and my husband split up. I've been separated from my husband for almost a year. So I needed time to heal. I needed time for me. So being an advocate, you still got to take time for you. You got to be able to get your life together, because if you can't help yourself, how can you help anybody else?
Yeah. I published a book about my family court experience. It's free if anyone wants it. Just stick a little message in the chat, I guess. I know
yeah.
you're on Facebook Live right now, so if anyone wants it, I could
Mhm.
I could send you an electronic copy.
Yeah.
You send me one.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm sorry?
send it.
You can send me one. I'll read it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just like in awe that you are both so able to be composed, because it's difficult for me. Like I had an event on Friday night where I invited people from Facebook who've been abused in the court system, and we had like a little event and they shared their stories, and it was just very difficult for me to get through it. And I'm almost 9 years into the family courts, and my husband is I think he's going on 13 yeyears now. So, and we're both in the federal court. We have a federal case. I have a pending appeal right now, so I have to go and defend that appeal pretty soon. And it's just like it's constant. If you go into our basement, there's just piles of briefs and file boxes everywhere about our boys, and so it's just always around us. And yeah, so I give you guys a lot of credit for just being able to do this, because it's difficult.
It is difficult. I have to agree with you on this. I have been doing this, like I said, in the family rights movement. And when they went after my son in 1997, that's when I started doing this, because they did me wrong. I fought for my rights, and I did. I fought tooth and nail. They violated my rights every which way. They didn't give me due process. I argued with them. I'm entitled to due process. How can you do this? And I have all of it in my papers. I fought for my rights. Mm-hmm. They terminated my rights to my son for a mayhav.
Mm-hmm.
For mayhav. They didn't even put me on their abuse registry. There was no abuse on me. The police report said there was exceptionally clear. There was no abuse. So they couldn't get me criminally. They can't get me civilly. So they got me for maintenance support that I was not court ordered to do. The state of Missouri was supposed to pay the maintenance support. Missouri didn't pay it. So they terminated my rights 3 weeks before my hearing. And it's all in documents. Wow. It says it right there in black and white. It says, I didn't abuse that kid or any kid in the family. It said I had no mental illness, no defect, and I didn't have no chemical dependency. Nothing. Mm-hmm. There was no grounds to terminate. And they did. And I didn't get no due process. Well, what they don't understand, what people don't understand, is when you don't get due process in the court, there's no statute of limitations on that. There's just not. Mm-hmm. Due process means that case is still going until due process has been fixed and that case has been mended, but no lawyer wants to touch it. Oh, it's too old, is what I keep getting told. So I got to figure out how to get into federal court, and I don't know how. I don't do paperwork. That's what I have other advocates for. I don't do paperwork. I'm dyslexic, so it's real hard. So I know this stuff. It takes me hours. I've been spending 20 years in a law library every Tuesday for 9 hours. I spent in a law library. We're lawyers and stuff, students in the law, because we have major schools that do law here, like SLU and WashU and stuff like that. And the law students started teaching me years ago, how to read the law and how to, research it and how to understand it. Then they taught me how to apply it. That was the worst mistake they ever did. They taught me how to apply the law and what kind of law do I use in each particular courtroom, because every courtroom is different. Mm-hmm. So it was like, okay, so now I can go into traffic law and I can use their E-codes. Ooh, interesting. That's their ordinances. I can use them against them. Not the statute. You don't need the statute. You just need the ordinance that's on their ticket. Then I learned, everybody has their own statutes. Everybody has their own thing. I can use those. Yeah, I can use their manuals because they have bylaws, because they're corporations. Oh, wow. And they violate their own bylaws. Well, there's statutes that prosecute them for that. So it's like, oh, cool. This became a kid in a candy store in this law library. So out of 13,000 law libraries, 13,000 books, I think I've read maybe 37 of them. And that's a lot to read. And I've done that in 20 years. And that's not even a dent in what's out there. Mm-hmm. So trying to understand, this was like, they violated my rights. I was 19 years old. I knew I had rights, but I didn't know how to apply them. I didn't know how to fight for them. I didn't know how to get my parental rights. I didn't know what they were. I didn't want that to happen to any of my other kids. They told me I was a good mom for all my other kids, just a bad mom for that one. And how does that make sense? No, I had to fight to keep my kids home. There's something that they kept calling CPS on me. Social workers were. Mm-hmm. The social workers from the case was calling social services on me to get my other kids removed from me 47 times in 3 years. Mm-hmm. And I had to keep my kids at home. I had to beat them each and every time. I had to learn how to do it. And I was all by myself. Then I found this group called Vocal, Victims Against Child Abuse Laws. And they started teaching me how to advocate in the family movement. And they started teaching me a lot of things, what my parental rights were. What was I allowed to have and what they couldn't take from me unless they terminated my rights. And then I learned that, but that was a little too late for my son's case, but I was able to protect my other children. And that was the biggest thing, is protecting my other kids. Because I have 5 children total. I have 4 sons and 1 daughter. Now my 4 youngest children, my oldest one I couldn't save, but I protected my other 4 children. And they didn't get them until 20 years later. My 16-year-old daughter got kidnapped by a non-citizen, and she was raped, kidnapped, held against her will. And then the rapist, the kidnapper, called police for a well-child checkup after we found her. And they removed my daughter from me within 23 minutes after we found her. So that was a total nightmare all by itself. And that hit the news. That was on Medical Kidnap, Health Impact News and stuff like that. There was articles written about it with the stalker that did this to my daughter. My son's case wound up on syndicated news, and it went around the world. It was global. Within 12 hours, it was national. And within 24 hours, it hit 4.8 million people. And then within 8 weeks, it was on front page news for 8 weeks. It hit over 48 million people, 60 countries, and 47 different languages. And that was on syndicated news. That was my son's story. So people don't understand. It is big. These things are wrong. And then people don't know what these advocates go through. We are advocates because we were done wrong. We learn our rights because we were done wrong. And we have to protect other people from going through the hell we went through. Because when you walk into a family courtroom, that's not a normal courtroom. That is not a courtroom at all. That's hell. You are fighting the devil itself. You are in the middle of the pits of hell. And if nobody believes that, I have been told that by even by lawyers that go in there. You know where you're at, right? You're in hell.
Yeah, that's right. And that's why we say some of these things that might sound outlandish, where patriots may be going, you just said that constitutional law isn't really applying in the family court. Yeah, that's why we're saying this, is because if your constitutional rights actually did apply in the family court, you'd have your kids.
And it wouldn't be hell. We would not have,
and it wouldn't be hell.
My husband and I, we live 15 minutes from Hartford, and we actually met at the state capitol. That's where we met. And so it's very easy for us to go to the capitol and talk to legislators. And I can't remember what I was going to say. Something about what Jay was saying.
With the constitutional rights.
Yes, it was something like that, and I don't remember what. It will come back to me, but we do a lot of work with legislators. My husband is on a first name basis with most of them.
But I have a question for you, Monica. From your experience, you've been in this for 9 years. When you go into the family courtroom, does the Constitution apply in there?
Interestingly, I work with Ron and Sherry Palmer quite a bit, and I used a lot of their materials in my most recent opening, and I actually asked the court to apply constitutional protections to my case, and I was told it was actually dismissed. I was told it didn't apply because because the state wasn't coming after me. It was my son's father that was coming after me for rights, and therefore the Constitution didn't apply. And my argument was, well, the state still took away my rights. My ex didn't take away my rights. The state did, at my ex's request. So exactly. And that's why I'm in the appeals court. I'm in the appeals court because Connecticut refused to uphold the Constitution in my case. I was denied equal protection, and my son has autism. So the fact that his disability was used as a basis to deprive him of a mother. My husband also has a son with autism, who we haven't seen in 3.5 years. And the state has been depriving our sons of a parent. And so that's why my husband appealed his case. My husband was retaliated against for winning an appeal in 2015. So it's just crazy, but we're like any other parents in the country, like where we're being brutalized by the family court and fighting back. And we're just going to keep doing this until we're 80, You
sound like me. I have all my kids and are still fighting.
we're going to be grandparents and still fighting. Like we are not going anywhere, and the legislators know it. And we're 15 minutes from Hartford. So,
Good.
My second grandbaby will be born here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, and this is areas where you talk about different things where you've got people who are lobbyists, like your husband. He's lobbying for these laws, right? He's lobbying to make sure that these things change. Then you've got advocates in this movement, and then you've got activists in this movement. Crossing some of those lines sometimes can be the blurry perception where we have a real issue. Maybe you've got someone who's used to being an activist that tries to come in to be an advocate, but they're still doing it with the activist mentality. Mm-hmm. And I think that when we start blurring some of those lines of what people do and how they do it, or maybe they blur the line of how they do and what they do it, that starts to become an issue. What are you good at? What do you do well? And this is what Rosemary does in Moffat. What do you do well? And this is where I want to stick you, because that's the place where I'm going to get the most out of you and what you do. So I think that people out here, you people that are out here in the community, need to understand that. What is your role? Maybe your role is web development, web design. Maybe that's what you're good at for this movement.
Maybe you're a journalist and you have an act for it, or a book writer to be able to get this. Everything is awareness. The whole point is to open the people's eyes so we can get these on the ballot, get these new laws, get the laws changed, get them on the ballots, and for the people to vote on them. That's the point of it. It isn't to fight each other's heads off. We shouldn't be fighting amongst each other. We're all victims. I know Monica's a victim. I'm a victim. Jay's a victim. And we're all victims of this horrible nightmare of a system. And we got to learn how to balance each other and how to make it work, because we're too busy fighting each other, and that's not resolving anything. What are we changing? We need to be focused on where the change needs to be. The change needs to be, our Constitution should be in family court. Due process should be there. Right. And that's what we should be focusing on. Mm-hmm. Every one of us should be focusing, trying to get that in there where that applies in family court. That you don't just need a ponderance of evidence, but you need to be proven, guilty, be proven guilty beyond a shadow of a doubt.
It's clear and convincing. I remember what I was going to say now. Legislators. Now I remember. About half of them are attorneys. And so they have been the most dismissive to Peter and myself when we try to approach them with these problems. But interestingly, what the common excuse is that what they say family law is very difficult and judges have to make difficult decisions. And actually, I think family law is probably one of the easiest laws out there, because all you do is apply the Constitution and everything just becomes a matter of, well, which parent gets Easter Sunday? Which parent gets Thanksgiving this year? Do we do Boy Scouts or soccer? Those are the issues judges should be managing, not does this kid get a parent or not? Does this kid go on supervised?
Which parent gets erased?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so when these legislators say, well, judges have to make very difficult decisions, it's like, no, they don't actually.
Right. Well, see, that's the problem. When the legislators come out and they say, well, judges have to make very, very difficult decisions. Well, isn't that your job to make sure they don't have to make difficult decisions? Mm-hmm. It should be cut and dry for them so they don't have to legislate from the bench. That's your job.
Family law should be administrative. It should be a division of property, mathematical stuff. All you need is a calculator and a few mediation sessions to determine property. But in terms of like the children, it should be administrative. Like, again, which parent gets Easter on even years, and that's it. Kyle says, which parent gets erased? That's an epic statement.
I said that.
But legislators say, well, it's family law. It's very sensitive. And Peter and I go to judge reappointment hearings, and we are very vocal. We say this judge should not be reappointed. If you go on YouTube, you can find all that fun stuff on us. The legislators. Yeah.
That's why people should vote, because judges go on ballots.
Yes,
We can vote
they
them out of
should.
their seats.
They
That's the
should.
great
In
thing about
Connecticut.
it.
Yeah,
They're
they
actually
should.
appointed in Connecticut.
Yeah.
They're appointed.
There's a lot of appointed ones, absolutely. And what they
Yes,
do is
they
they
are.
elect a head judge, and then the head judge appoints his buddies. And that's not how it should work. Right.
No.
Yeah. In our, I believe doesn't the governor appoint our judges? Yeah, our governor appoints judges. So what these legislators, they say family law is very difficult. I can understand why you're upset with family law because it's so difficult and the judges have hard jobs. But it's actually not a hard job at all. All you do is apply the Constitution. If there's child abuse, then just kick it to criminal court, And so
Exactly. That's what I've been saying.
Yeah.
If there's child abuse, send it to it's criminal. It's assault. Period. If you say there's child abuse, that's assault. If it's an adult hitting another adult, it goes to criminal court.
Yep. And I tell
An adult hitting a child should go to criminal court.
Right.
It shouldn't be in family court. Family court's for divorces.
Yeah, and also, and this is just something I haven't tested yet because I encourage parents to do this if anyone's listening. This is just a brilliant idea I came up with. If you're new and you're still married and you know that you're going in to get a divorce, I think all parents, the minute they receive that notice of being sued for custody, every single parent should file a motion to dismiss saying this other parent has no jurisdiction to interfere with my rights to my child, and they should ask the court to not even look at that motion and not even give it any
Make it
thought.
moot.
Yeah, it's moot. And like one private citizen doesn't have standing to ask the state to remove rights of another private citizen. Like I can't ask the state to remove my husband's right to vote or own property or practice religion. So why is someone asking the state to remove something from me because we're no longer romantically connected? So that's what I want to test that. I want to see how that works, but
I want to work with you on that because my thing is co-parenting, not shared parenting, co-parenting. And that's the thing. Even if divorced, you could co-parent. I'm separated from my husband. I have been for almost a year, and that's all we've done is co-parent.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
and failure to co-parent does not rise to the clear and convincing evidence standard needed to cut off a parent.
exactly. You got to learn,
Kramer.
get a mediator.
Yeah, Santosky versus Kramer says you have to have clear and convincing evidence to cut off a parent, not failure to co-parent. And I believe in parallel parenting, and you'll never see a judge embrace that,
Right. Yeah, unfortunately you won't. And
So I want to get with you on that because I want to see about getting a program where we teach parents that are newly separating, get them where they're co-parenting, get them where they're healed enough where they can co-parent, at least for the sake of the children.
Yeah.
If you're willing to work with me on that, we can build a program for it.
Well, I'm a big fan of parallel parenting because it establishes healthy boundaries for both parents, and they could still, and they could still be at their best selves for their children. Co-parenting, it needs 2 yeses for it to work. It requires both parents to cooperate. If only one parent wants to co-parent, then you just have to move on to parallel parenting. I believe it requires 2 yeses, and I don't think the state has authority to determine how 2 private individuals interact with each other. The state can't regulate a private relationship. The state can't tell me and my husband how to parent, whether we're co-parenting or parallel parenting. So if you're divorcing, the state can't dictate how you interact with another private human being. So that's just
I agree. But if we can get a program to teach people how to be able to do those steps, because a lot of parents can't do that. Right. They don't parallel parent and they don't co-parent. So if we can teach them one or the other, because they might have it really bad with each other and they can't co-parent, but they can parallel parent.
Yeah, my husband and I are masterful. My husband and I are masterful parallel parenters with our other parent. we are so good at it, and the courts, because they believe they could dominate a private relationship, they say because we're not co-parenting, one of us has to lose. And unfortunately, my husband and I both lost our sons in this mess.
Yeah, that's all.
So that's sad.
I'm sure there's other people waiting to speak. So thank you for speaking with me tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
It was very nice speaking with you.
All right.
And again, if you want my book, just private message me or something. I'm already.
First, send me one.
I will be. Yeah, I will definitely be. Thank you so much, Monica. We really appreciate it. So I'm going to go ahead and remove on here. I know we got another person probably lined up here. I'm going to pull in Mr. Kyle Kinsella here. Let's see here. Kyle, how are you doing this evening? I don't know
Is he
if he's-
there?
Yep,
Oh,
there he
there he
is.
is.
Hey, Kyle, how's it going?
Oh, good. Sitting in
What's
the
on your
garage.
mind, brother?
Oh, not much. I was watching you guys for a little bit, and I was seeing the co-parenting thing. That I know every situation's different. I don't want to like get into bashing on nobody in front of anybody, but co-parenting's really like about they both parents have to get along. Because
Mm,
I have an ex that uses the term, and it's like, well, how are you gonna co-parent when you always want your way? You know what I mean?
right.
That was where I was at listening to you guys.
Well, yeah, it's definitely where both parents have to come to the point where they say, it doesn't matter what I want. Both parents have to say that. It doesn't matter what I want. It matters what the child wants. Does the
Needs.
child want to go to
That's
mom's? Does the
Yeah.
child want to go to dad's? It's up to the child. Right.
Yeah.
I don't leave it up to my children. I kind of leave it up that is what's the best for my children. I get the kids all day long, and he gets the kids at night every day.
I didn't even
That's
think
how
I
it
was gonna be
works.
able to-
Yeah. And you can
Do we get
split that
along
time.
always? No, but we keep it away from the kids. We don't want the kids affected. So everything is about the kids. When we're mom and dad and we're together, we run the kids together, it's best behavior.
Right.
And if we wanted to get in a dispute or whatever, we wait till later when the kids aren't around us. And then we get in our dispute. We want to keep everything away from the kids.
And I think that works because, first off, when we're talking about how to parent and co-parent or parallel parent, the difference between the two is really simple, where it comes down to, okay, are there two parents that can work together? If those two parents can work together, even if there's some dispute or some argument, that's going to go away a little bit eventually. You're still going to maybe have some animosity that's going to wear off down the road. But generally, if you can come to a consensus of time spent with each other, well, I had the kids all week this week, you can have them all week next week, and everybody's okay with that. That's great. Okay. But there are some that don't. And that's where you get into parallel parenting. What happens at your house is your business. What happens at my house is my business. But we're talking to each other enough to say, let's have some of the same rules. Let's make sure that we're doing the same thing and working together here. Because ultimately, I can't let's say my kids come over for the weekend. I have weekend visits, right? And so I can't let the kids stay up until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning if that's not what's acceptable at the other parent's house, because obviously that's going to give the children a different aspect where they're coming, well, dad lets me do this, well, mom lets me do this. And so you don't want
That just
that.
doesn't matter.
Right. You want some type of equal ground along the way. And if both of you
Compromise.
can give to that, then you can parallel parent. Okay. Anything else that you've got, Kyle?
Oh no, I was just thinking like I really don't understand the whole concept of I get it. It's like parallel parenting, but that's kind of when you can't get along, right? And you just try and both stay on the same page, like you're saying.
Right.
But yeah, no, I think that's really cool what you guys are doing here, and like
Awesome.
going back and forth, like watching the legal thing. Mine's real specific. I got legal troubles. I got the family case. Another thing I kind of want to say about the CPA, though, I'm not really bashing them, but what happened was they had come over to my house when I had my son here, and they said they came to the door, and it was like some lady, and I actually saw her on the ring, like I saw her on the camera, and I was like, all right, who's this lady with a notebook or a clipboard in her hand? I'll go up there with Clayton. I'm like, all right, cool, what's going on? She's like, oh, it's a child welfare check. And I was like, oh, well, okay, what's going on? And she pops in. She's like, oh, we just got to look at some certain things. I was like, what's this all about? And she's like, you know what it's about. And I was like, what do you mean I know what it's about? And then she goes through the house. Everything's cool. Everything's fine. She looks around. Everything's cool. And then she leaves, and then I get some letter in the mail like a week or two later, and it's like, oh, that was called unfounded, right?
Okay.
So I was like, and then it said, oh, you can file a motion so you can figure out what it was about, like who called CPS on you or whatever.
Right.
Since it was unfounded, they said you had 30 days to do that. And then I never heard nothing back from them. And I did it twice within the 30 days. So they didn't hear nothing after the first 2 days after I did it. The second day is when I did it after it. And I didn't hear nothing for like 2 weeks. And then I filed another case like, what was that all about? Who said I did what when you guys said it was unfounded?
Right.
So that's something else, like false accusations is what I think another thing that should be like addressed when it comes to people being jealous of other people and just being vindictive. And like, I don't know why I got it in my head, but it's like, oh, I have to fight harder than my ex to try and get my kids. When really it should be like neutral ground, and everybody should just be cool about everything unless it's something bad's going on.
Right. Right. There are a whole lot of unfounded calls that are going on, and the problem with this is that the fact that you've got a CPS or you've got a DCF or whatever alphabet group they want to call themselves this week, and they come to your house. Well, understand this, that the whole premise behind them coming to people's houses is because they get paid to take kids. That's what they do. They get paid to take kids. The more kids they take, the more they make. So that's what they're doing, is trying to fulfill and do their job, their duty, what they feel is good for them in order to retain their job. See, because if they're not taking kids, they're not getting the Title 4E funds. They're not getting the Title 4E funds, they're out of a job. So they've got to make the money that it takes to retain their job, right? See, so what ends up happening is, like, there's places like, I know Decatur, Illinois, actually, where I grew up. I think it's one of the social services, or I think it was the Title 4D office, actually went out of business. And now I think it's the district attorney is taking over the Title 4D office, which is weird in its aspect. But I think that when you have those situations where parents out there or so-and-so doesn't like somebody, right? And so they call the social services office, or they call DCFS or CPS or whatever. Understand, you guys need to understand, everybody out there needs to understand that their job is to take children. They will do anything and find anything necessary to take people's children. So if you get a call on you, and understand that your property rights are your property rights, your children are while they're in your home, so to speak, are your property interest. So when they're in your home, that's the deal. Look, if you ain't got a warrant, you ain't getting in. That's just how it works. If you don't come to me with a warrant, you're not coming in. And don't be mean or rude about it, but just say, come back with a warrant. I'll let you search the place, not a problem. But otherwise, you're not coming in my home, because they are paid to take people's children. That is what
I make her stay outside.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like she was looking for like a joint roach or a friggin' beers hanging out everywhere or something. I was like, there's nothing bad going on. And she put it to me like, oh, you know why we're here. I'm like, if I knew that, then I wouldn't be asking. And then, like I said, when it was unfounded, that was the major thing there, is I was like, how come I never got a response? It's just okay for them not to tell me who called when they said that. Like, that's the case. If it's unfounded, they got to tell me what happened, what's going on, why they wanted to come in the house, all that while they were there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so why didn't I get anything back from that? And then I guess I really have no proof, because I just sent it off in the mail. I guess I should have got it certified, maybe, and then maybe I would have got a response. I don't understand it.
All right, and that's the thing. I mean, really, if you're filing, you've done it twice, and you've asked them, you, I mean, maybe you send it out certified next time.
Yeah.
If you ever get this again, send it out certified. That way they have to sign for it. That's what I would do with anything, is send it certified so they have to sign for it. That way it lets you know, hey, you've received this. Don't tell me you haven't, because I got it right here. So anything else you've got there, Kyle?
No, man.
All right, brother.
I actually enjoy listening more than talking to you guys. I feel weird
Awesome.
on here.
Awesome.
No, thanks for everything. It's cool listening to like the legal advice and like kind of figuring out my rights, because I'm kind of new to this. Even I got a 5-year-old, but it's just now like getting bad with
Right.
you know, just
Your
what's
parental rights. I'm gonna tell you your parental
yeah,
rights.
I feel like I should have them half the time, just because like I gotta go up to his school, like I gotta go to Metcalf and be like, oh, I'm his dad showing up for lunch, like, and then I find out about like a fall festival. I'm like, which teacher's not emailing me? What's going on? Like, and I think it should be 50-50 really, until I'm messing up more than she is. I definitely should be 50-50, right?
Well, these are your parental rights. It goes for man or woman. You have the right to your child's education, your right to their report cards. You have the right to attend all meetings during the school. You have the right to all their medical. You have the right to make their medical decisions with the other parents. You have the right to be notified if they are hurt or sick. You have the right to be notified if there's an emergency. You have the right to be notified if there's a surgery that needs to be done. You have the right to visit your child. You have the right to be able to be with your child, not all the time if you're separated. You have to follow by court orders, but you do have that right to see them. You do have your right to be involved on every legal aspect of it. Unless your rights are terminated, those are your rights, period.
Exactly.
You have the right to know where your child is at all times.
Yeah,
You have the right to be notified if your child is leaving the state, and you have the right to say, no, I don't want my child to leave the state. Then they have to give a right to refuse, and they have to be able to leave that child with you while they leave the state. Both parents have to be in agreement for that child to leave, or you have to get a modification in a court hearing to be allowed.
Right.
You have those rights as a parent.
Yep. See, like you were talking about the spending time up in the law library earlier. Sometimes there's like good girls up there that'll help you out a lot. And sometimes sometimes I'm just spinning my wheels, not knowing what's going on. But like, I like want only certain people to watch my son, and it's nothing. There's plenty of people to watch him. So it's not like I'm just being bad. It's like there's just, people do bad things and whatever,
Yeah.
Watch your kids.
I really appreciate you guys. Like I got a little notepad here. I've been taking notes for things that and it's just like becoming part of something cool, because you guys, that's what I like, what you guys are into. I'm forced into because of my situation, and the better to be educated than just sit here and complain about it and not do nothing. Right.
Right.
Exactly. Learn to be your own voice. Learn to be your own advocate.
Thank you guys so much. I feel like a weirdo on
camera. All right. Thanks a lot, Kyle. We appreciate you, brother.
Night, guys. Thank you so much.
Right. I'll remove your Kyle here. All right. So just some great stuff already tonight, and we've got space and we've got just a little bit of time if anybody else wants to call in here. I know I got a message actually just now from Michael Willard. Are there any advocacy groups in Western Massachusetts? Could you or Rosemary let me know?
I can search and see, and I'll see what our resources have and where's what. I'll get a hold of some of the advocates that are up that way. You said New Hampshire?
Let me get back to that message here real quick. Western Massachusetts. And Massachusetts. How they say
where is that at again on the map?
Massachusetts. It's out the back by Connecticut and all that up there.
Is it near Vermont?
Yeah, it's up in that
I know
way.
Kara Zimmerman's up that way.
Yeah, and I know a few people up in that area. Ed Bryans is up there. You can get with him. He's a very good guy. He's running for political office up there. So we know some people, and we'll try and get you more people as we go along, though. Okay. Awesome stuff, though. Yeah, awesome stuff so far. you know, we can talk about, you know, this movement until somebody else comes in. But, you know, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on that's good. That's great. That's great stuff. And we have some not so great stuff too, but we can't concentrate on the not so great stuff. But we can say this, look, here's how I would say it. Okay. If someone comes to you in private and they say, hey, look, I see that you're doing such and such, and I don't think that maybe that's the right thing to do. You need to be receptive to that, because maybe it is something that you're doing that might offend them, or maybe it's something that you're doing that might be the wrong thing to say or the wrong thing to do. Be receptive and understand that none of us are experts. None of us are experts in the law. None of us have law degrees out there, you know, except for, you know, a few people, evidently, that contribute to our program, which thank you, by the way. But in no way, shape, or form.
I want to add something about that. You
Yeah,
know,
go
the
ahead.
one thing about people say they're against lawyers and stuff.
Right.
Okay, I've been fighting for 20 years to get lawyers to open their eyes and see what's going on in the family movement, in the family courts. Lawyers have always been part of the problem, always. And we're just now making a breakthrough where we're starting to get some barred license attorneys on our side.
Right.
So when we get those barred license attorneys on our side, we don't attack them. We don't want to sway them from it and think that the reason why they need to go back to doing what the courts want them to do. We want them to be getting their kids home and trying to change the system. We need them people to change the system with us, because lawyers are the ones that write up your bills. Lawyers are the ones that get it passed with lobbyists, and they can lobby and get it through the Senate. It takes one session. If you can't get it from A to Z in one session, you fail. You have to start all over again, right back to the drawing board. And you have to get it passed all the way through. There's like all these steps you have to go through, but a lawyer can get it through. So we're trying to get these barred license attorneys to be on our side. So we don't want to sway them away. You don't want to attack them under any reason, under any circumstance. You don't want to attack them, because right now we need them in these capitals. We need them talking to legislation. That's what we need. We need those bills wrote up for us, because we don't know how to write them. Very few of us know how to write those bills. So we need people to have that where we can be presented, because when you go in front of legislation, like Monica said, most of those legislationers people are out there are lawyers. So how are we supposed to speak their language?
Right.
We have to present a bill that's in lawyer language. So we need a barred licensed attorney that speaks their language so we can get our bill passed.
Right.
That's how that works.
That's exactly right. And, you know, you've got some people out there that they call all the lawyers attorneys and say it means to attorney. Well, hey, I understand how you feel. I really do. Maybe you've been absolutely hurt or abused in some way, shape, or form through legal abuse syndrome, to be disassociated where you're in your mind, when someone says attorney, you picture one particular person. So I get it. I understand that.
I have been abused by a lot of attorneys, but I've also been in front of a lot of attorneys bringing my cases forth. I have hundreds and hundreds of cases I take to look at this one, look at this one. Can I open your eyes? Will you give me 5 minutes? Just 5 minutes of your time. Let me persuade you. Get you to come speak with me at the Capitol. Come listen to these parents. Something. We got to have somebody to represent us going in front of these hearings, whether it be a senator, whether it be a House representative, whether it be an attorney. We have to have a representative,
right?
But they won't hear us.
Period. Exactly. And I think people need to come to an understanding, though, that, yeah, maybe your lawyer that you had completely screwed up your case. I understand that. There are bad attorneys and there are good attorneys. It's like doctors. There are bad doctors and there are good doctors. You know, you try and weed out the bad doctors from the good doctors, and that you go see the good doctor and you stick with them, right?
Exactly.
Okay? It's the same thing here. When we see that in the movement and we see good attorneys, you better bet your ass that I'm writing it down. Oh, Melissa Isaac, she's from Alabama. I've got Connie Reguly, she's in Tennessee. You know, I'm sitting there and
Sean
I'm writing
McMillan,
those
he's
down.
in California.
Yeah. I mean,
When
we're
you got
writing
these
those down.
attorneys out there fighting for us, trying to make a difference, we can't attack them.
Yeah.
There isn't many of them. And it has been so hard to get them on our side. We don't want to push them away because we don't have the majority here. The majority is against us. And we got to get them swayed. They got to see the light. They got to see where the error of the ways of legislation. So they have the know-how to fix it.
Right.
We need their brains and their skills and their know-how to move around this system so we can get our point, so we can get our due process in these courtrooms. And without them, we can't get it. Right. It's a need. It's a tool. And that's what people need to understand. In this movement, you got to have attorneys, because if you go out and protest and you get arrested, who do you think is bailing you out? An attorney. If you don't have attorneys in your movement, you're staying in jail.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's
and
very,
if you don't
very
understand
true.
that concept, then you ain't really been protesting that long. Be locked up. You're going to want that number on your hand to call somebody to come get you out of jail.
Mm-hmm.
Because they fight for your amendment rights.
The other thing that I would suggest is if you're going to plan a protest as a group and there's a group in charge of it, someone better be collecting funds. That way, if somebody gets arrested for anything, that you got bail money. I mean, honestly.
Get all the bondsmen. Be friends with them. Anybody that will support the movement. You need bondsmen. You need lawyers. You need people, activists. You need legal advocates. You need paralegals. You need the ACLU.
Mm-hmm.
Put that down on your app. You need to record. You need to be able to do all kinds of things. You need regular advocates. Don't go on the street, not normally, but you need activists that do those signs and all that. And trust me, when activists go out there, sometimes we chain ourselves to doors. We chain ourselves to trees. You get arrested.
Yeah. Yep. They do.
You're going to need those lawyers to bail you out.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get those cases dismissed so they're not on your record. Because those lawyers will do everything to prevent that, because it's your First Amendment right. And that's what they use. They fight for it.
That's right.
And if you go and you make these lawyers mad, they're not coming to get you out of jail. You'll be staying in there.
Mm-hmm. We're not there. We're not there to make
the movement. When they come get you out of jail, 90% of them will do it pro bono because you did an activist. You were an activist on the movement, and they support it. That's where they're pro bono at.
That's right. That's right. And here's the thing about that is we need these people on our side in this, and it's because more than anything else, you don't change society by pushing a gun down someone's throat. So that thing needs to stop too. Pushing the gun violence thing, we don't do that. That's not what we do. Okay. How we do it in this movement is how they did it in the civil rights era. It's how it's always been throughout the history of mankind, is you change hearts and minds.
Yep. It's all spiritual. It's all through love. Martin Luther King was walking down the streets through love. The LGBT rights was nonviolent. It was all in brotherly and sisterly love. That's how they got the gays in the military. It's all love. If you can't do a revolution with love, then you're in the wrong ballpark, because you cannot make change with violence. It's not going to solve anything. It's just not. When you want to change laws and you want to protest your right, your freedom of speech, that's your right. But you can have civil disobedience with love revolution. You don't have to be violent to do it. You don't attack your police officers. You don't go and do that. You call ahead of time, tell them you're going to be there. That way they can clear the streets. And if you don't do that, stay on the sidewalks. Do not get in the streets, because there is protocol. If you're in the streets, you're violating other people's rights. Other people have the right to free travel. They have the right to those roads if they're in the car. If you're blocking those roads, then you're violating other people's rights. Now, if you get the police department notice and they can block out those roads where then the cars be rerouted, then you're not violating anybody's rights and you're not putting anybody in danger. Do you know how many people got ran over because they want to take the streets instead of protesting the correct way? Because they're violating other people's rights, and people get mad. They don't like their rights violated. You don't like your rights violated. They have to get to work. They don't want to be late for work and lose their job, so they get mad. They have their right to get to work, and you're blocking them from doing it. You can't do that. Stay on the sidewalks, keep moving. That's what you do. You carry your signs, you chant, go back and forth. As long as you're moving and you're on the sidewalk, you're within your thing. If you have a private area, a private land spot, you get permission from the owner. You set up on the sidewalk, wait about 500 feet from the door. You don't go up to the door. That's like a strike. You do it, form it like a strike. Don't cross the protest line. You stay on the sidewalk, make a line. That's how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's private property. Nobody can say anything to you as long as you have permission from the owners.
Right.
To be there. Stay on the sidewalk.
Exactly. And, we've got to also address some of the issues. You got to be very careful on some of these protests, because maybe the protest is where you feel as if you're going to arrest some type of government official. It's not going to be productive. It's not going to help people. The way that you're going to help people is by changing hearts and minds and building relationships. You've got to build relationships with those people. You can't just go, I'm going to go arrest so-and-so today. It's just not going to happen.
Well, that may not happen. You have to, 90% of the time, it's usually veterans that can enforce that law.
Yes.
I'm sorry, but in Illinois, the only case I ever known where 2 veterans went in Illinois, and they arrested 109 city officials for violation of their amendment rights. I think that's what it was over. And they came in and they arrested them under what they called a civil arrest. But they used the military code to do it. It's very specific on it about upholding the oath of office. And the military usually are the ones that are trained in it that knows how to do it. Militia knows it too. Most veterans know it. And when the veterans' rights get violated, they come in protocol. They come with the U.S. Marshals. They don't just do it on their own. They come in there with the U.S. Marshals and Sheriff's Department, and they get city officials arrested under civil arrest. Right. And that's how it's done. It's done protocol. And there was 2 veterans that did that. Yes. So that's the only case have ever known or heard of in 30 years. And that was in Illinois. 109, wasn't it 109?
109, yeah, it was 109. It's 109 city employees that were violating veterans' rights and veterans' services. And they follow proper protocol. You do call the U.S. Marshal Service, you do call the FBI, you do let them know.
Sheriff's Department. The Sheriff's Department is the one that enforces your constitutional rights. The U.S. Marshals are the ones that arrest city officials. FBI has to be notified because you're doing a citizen arrest. There's protocols you have to do. There's certain standards and guidelines, and you have to be able to prove it. Yes. And these guys were able to prove it because they videoed it.
Yes.
It was on video.
Right. You have to prove it and understand this, because if you're doing that, you have to do it in the criminal court, not in any kind of divorce court, civil court, family court. No. This is a criminal action, which means you have to get them beyond a reasonable doubt.
That's right. You have to have solid proof to do a citizen's arrest like that. And if you do it properly, it can stick. And these 109 officials did get stuck, and they were charged and they were convicted.
Right.
It was all over the news.
Yeah. That's the only one I've ever heard of as well. But like I said, those T's were crossed and those I's were dotted every bit of the way. Their rights were
violated in a city council meeting. They weren't allowed to speak, and they were this open city council meeting, and they were supposed to get 5 minutes on the podium, and they wouldn't let them speak. And it was all on video. And they argued the fact that this was their constitutional right to be able to speak at their meeting because they objected to what they were doing. Mm-hmm. And it was about problems within their city, and the officials wouldn't allow it. There was 109 of them, and they got mad. So they said, we'll be back. And when they came back, they came with U.S. Marshals and Sheriff's Department and had each one of them handcuffed.
Yeah. And every last one of them, their names were listed out on a piece of paper that had all of the documentation that they were going to be bringing into court with them. So it was, and all of the accusations that were in there. Like, you can't just go, yeah, I don't like you, Judge, and you violated my rights, so I'm going to come arrest you. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. What ends up happening is your ass is going to jail. And excuse my French, but
citizen's arrest is a very difficult thing to do, especially with the power of public corruption. You have to use a lot of tools. You have to use the sheriff's department. You have to use the U.S. Marshals Department, the FBI. You have to notify the FBI, this is what you're doing. You have to already have the sheriff's department on board, and you have to have the U.S. Marshals on standby. And when you do this, and you have to know your I's and your T's. You have to be able to do arrest warrants, and you have to get them signed by the courts. You have to go into a state court and get these warrants signed before you can even do it.
That's right.
So, and these guys had to go get warrants signed for 109 people, 109 warrants signed, and then use the sheriff's department to serve them and have the U.S. Marshals take them in.
That's right. Yeah, you don't just willy-nilly do that. That's a very, very planned, synchronized event that has to take place. So, you know, and you know, I get protesting where you say, okay, we're all not going to buy gas today. Okay, well, you know what? That does not affect anyone else except for you people in the movement. So that's not going to do you any good. But how about this? How about this? Having 150 people walk into the federal courts and file on one single day. Boom. That makes an impact. That makes
you do 100, not one case, individual cases.
Individual
you
cases.
book them up with the same reason. Corruption, no due process in the courts, one right after the other. And what the hell is happening?
Exactly. And you line them up with the work that they need to be doing anyway. And so now they have to go, wait a minute, hold on. I've just got 150 1983 lawsuits from McLean County in the state federal court. What happened? You know,
that's when the Department of Justice comes in.
Exactly.
And they start investigating because they get called and something's not right here.
That's exactly right. That's where you make an impact is you do this and you coordinate it all at one time, all at one county.
You can also do it, the Department of Justice, do it all coordinate. You guys all mail the same packet. You know, you guys all gather affidavits and with your court cases in it and the violations that they've done on it. You send it all in one big packet.
That's right.
One case right after the other. And you send it to the Department of Justice. You send it there as a formal complaint for that state. Each state's different. Each state should wind up getting 50 packets on the, you know, for all these cases.
Right.
And they get it in one package, like, holy shit, what the fuck is going on with these courts? And it's all about family court.
Yes.
All about due process. Then they start doing an investigation. That's how we did it in St. Louis to get juvenile courts investigated.
This is how we've done things in the
FBI and all that came in and
done.
investigated it.
Right.
They said the juveniles weren't getting their constitutional rights. And that was in 2015. It was all over the news. So it's not hard. There's ways to do this to get their attention. But you got to do it in a group. You got to do it in a very big fashion. Same as Michael Brown's law. We got in St. Louis, we got over 500,000 signatures to get cameras on the cops. Every cop here in St. Louis now wears cameras on their vest that has to stay on at all times. They have cameras because of what they did to Michael Brown. So there's things that there is mandated that you can get done, but it just takes a lot of people to do it. We need the signatures. That's what we need. So we can get the signatures. We can have 100,000 in each city sign a petition, and we get these petitions and we get up enough signatures for one city. For St. Louis, we needed 100,000 signatures to get Mike Brown's law in place. We got 500,000. The cameras are now on the cops. It's enforced.
Yeah.
So how do you do this? We need 100,000 signatures in every city to get something in place. So if you want the family law to change, you want the courts to change, we need 100,000 signatures per city.
Yep.
So why ain't we out there getting them?
It. Yeah. Yeah. Instead, we're more concerned with, we think we have the ability to arrest a judge. And we've been down that road before. Honestly, I can tell you this for a fact.
15 years ago.
Yeah, 15 years ago, we've been down that same road. And what we're doing now is we're repeating the same thing over and over again. What's the difference? The definition of insanity, like my brother Bud Vino says, the definition of insanity is repeating the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, right? Okay. we can't go down the road, you know, and a lot of the problem with that is we've got new people or new leaders that have come in the movement, and they may say they've been around for a long time, and I understand that maybe that's what they profess, and that's fine. But if you've got to take a lesson from the past. You've got to respect the road that some of these people have gone down before. They've paved the path for us to do what we're doing right now. Let's learn from them, learn from their gains, learn from their mistakes. We got to learn from
the biggest problem I see in this movement is people ain't taking the streets. There's nobody in the trenches. I could set up a rally and only 10 will show up.
Yes.
And that's a problem. You know, all these parents say, "Oh, I'm for my kids," but they're all on Facebook. I can gather thousands on Facebook. Mm-hmm. But when it really comes down to it, to get them at a rally, I think the most I've had show up is 50 at a rally. 50, and they came from all over the place. You know, and 9 of them were speakers. They came from different states. Mm-hmm. But about 50 came to the actual rally. You know, that's not how it's supposed to be. These people, when you set up these rallies, we should have hundreds and thousands of you at these rallies.
Yeah.
Period.
Right.
The next big rally, which everybody doesn't understand, is November 5th at the Capitals. Every capital in the United States has a rally going on November 5th.
Right. November 5th.
That's what it is. It's the Million Mask March. Why is it? It's for everything. It is November 5th. That's at the Capitals. And if you're not going to be there, and you claim to be an activist, you know, you better have a good reason. You know, me, I'm usually at the jails or hospitals. I'm not necessarily might be able to get there, but I have people that will be there, that will represent for me why I'm not able to, because I have sick people I deal with, people who are dying. I give their last rites. I sit with them until they die. So it just depends. You know, there's a lot of duties that I have, and I have to be careful not to overbook myself, because when I lose a patient or I lose a client, it's hard. When they call you to give them their spiritual rights before they pass away and they're scared and they don't have nobody with them, I'm the person they call. And I sit by their bedside and hold their hand until they take their last breath. I stay with them until the people from the coordinator's office comes and takes them. And I sit with them until they're processed and gone to the morgue. And when they go to the morgue, I sit there and I wait for the funeral home to come get them so they can be with their family. I don't leave them. Don't leave the dead. You know, that's not right. You know, so it is saddening. And sometimes I get overwhelmed, and it's hard. It's hard to do what I do. It really is. Right. And then sometimes I go to the jails and they call me upon there, depending on their spiritual beliefs. And they call me in there because their chaplain is a Catholic chaplain. It's not their religion. So they call me in. I'm a pan-denominational minister, and they're rare to find. So I get called in there to be able to help them with their spiritual, and they do their confessions. And sometimes you hear some of the most horrifying things they say, and you can't say nothing because it's their confession. So you can't even testify against them. It's solid, and that has to bother you too. Right. So you hearing what they've done to people, you know, there's things that these people say they've done, and you're like, oh my God, all I could do is pray for your soul. Yeah. You know, that's pretty much, you gave me your confession. We need to pray for your soul and try to get forgiveness. I don't even know if it's going to work, but we'll pray for your forgiveness. Right. Because some of the things that they say are so horrific. I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
We got a caller.
We got another caller in here. Shayla Duke. Shayla, are you there?
Yeah, am I here?
Yes, yes, you are.
Yes, Oh.
How are you doing this evening, and what's on your mind?
Oh, I'm just can you see me? Sure.
Yeah.
Hi. So yeah, I'm just pretty ecstatic about what's going on in my case right now, and just wanted to share that I got like pretty much like one of the most, if not the most corrupt judge here. Federal judge, old hag, to pre-place the defendant's motion to dismiss my case under advisement as of December 3rd.
Under advisement. Yeah, that's the other
I don't know
thing.
if it's good or bad. It might be a trick. It might be a trick.
Well, here's the issue that I have with the family courts in particular. There's quite a few issues I have with them, but this is one of them, is dragging out cases. The more that you drag out cases means okay, so let's say for instance you go to court against your ex, and you go to court and your ex's attorney comes in and says, well, we need a continuance. And then you come back later on,
Right.
your attorney says, well, magically we need a continuance too. And then it continues on. And guess what? Each time your attorney goes to court and their attorney goes to court, you get paid, right? So if you needed a continuance, why didn't you just call into the court and say, I need a court date? We need a continuance. Instead, they're going to charge you for the court fee of you coming in to court, them coming into court. And so now each court appearance could be $300, $400, $500 for an hour instead of maybe $100 for a phone call.
Yeah, but I'm in federal court though.
Right. So, but what I'm saying is these continual things where they're continuing the case to drag on and drag on and drag on, that costs everybody more money, even if it's not you, even if you claim, indigency status and you've gotten in that way, it's still an issue because the taxpayers have to pay for that. See?
Well, I
What
got
kind of
in
case do you have?
I was able to get an attorney, a relatively new attorney who happens to be a son of a judge. I did not know at the time, of a judge that a corrupt judge that hates.
That sounds like a dirty word now. You're a son of a judge.
Yeah, son of a judge. I know. I thought of that the other day too. I'm like, you son of a judge. Didn't I? But yeah, and his mom bought his $800,000 house for him, and he has his little nonprofit organization in the back. But I didn't know those things when I retained him. But he was the only attorney that would take my case, and he took it on contingency, having no idea about Medicaid law. My case is a little bit different, involving some other things. But he pretty much got in over his head, and he didn't even respond. He wouldn't respond to me ever, like hardly ever communicate at all. And then he had an oral argument, which was just pathetic. He didn't even argue anything. He actually agreed with the other side that I'm not shouldn't be a party in my own case, and that I don't even have a right to sue. And then he determined that my husband is incompetent, and that I can represent him without even giving him a pre-deprivation hearing on the matter or anything. And then afterwards, I was like, "Hey, man, what's up? You kicked me out of my own case." And then he's like, then he put in a motion to withdraw, even though the other side, they just put in notices to withdraw, and then, substitution of counsel all the time. And then he puts in a motion to withdraw. And by doing that, it made it so, because of irreconcilable differences, he refused to represent me for like a month and a half while deadlines were being missed and whatnot. And then, because the judge put his motion to withdraw under advisement, and then she issued her findings and rulings saying that parties must, if parties do not object to these findings and rulings, finding recommendations rather, that they'll automatically waive the right to appeal to the Ninth Circuit. And so here I am. Okay, well, how am I supposed to, file anything if nobody will let me file anything, and my attorney won't file anything for me? So I was completely stuck. And then she recused herself voluntarily and gave it back to a different judge. And then at that point, I was able to get back on good terms with the clerk, because I had like a little rapport built up over the months with the clerk that it was remanded back to, or switched to. And I was like, so I'm having a hard time figuring this out. How am I supposed to object to this if I can't file anything? Because my attorney won't do anything. He hasn't given me any notice of anything. And she's like, oh, let me get back to you in a few hours. I'll get this worked out. And then the motion to withdraw was granted like immediately. So then I had my right in the case. So the one weird thing is that in the PACER, I don't know if you know about this, but on federal court, I have to be in federal because I can't be running around with papers, filing, printing things, mailing things. In the state court, you can't file in Oregon. You can't file online like the attorneys had the convenience of doing.
Right.
So in the pacer before, it just had, I could just access the civil tab and I could file civil,
Right.
filings or whatever. But now
Yeah.
that I'm back, both the civil and the criminal tab are available to me. So I'm just wondering what that's
Okay.
about.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I'm not greatly familiar with the Pacer that's out there. I mean, obviously, Pacer is a whole new electronic form system, so it's going to take. It's not even an issue where people are trying to get used to it, but the attorneys themselves are still trying to get used to it. A lot of them in different counties. I know Illinois and McLean County, they never switched over until December or January the 1st of this year. So, it's different counties that are installing it, and so it's brand new.
Well, yeah, it's like
Yeah.
EME system or whatever, I guess. But
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and have to shut you off here, but I will be in contact with you and we'll talk about it and see what we can do for you. Okay.
if you know of anybody that knows about that pacer, please let me know because
Okay.
I find it very interesting.
I do. Yeah, I do. And I'll get in contact with them and get with you. I promise we'll get to that, obviously.
I don't mean to take up your show. It's just.
Oh, no, it's fine.
No, you're fine. That's what this open mic was about, but it's coming close to time where we're going to be cut off and we need to go do our closing.
Yeah.
I'm late. Sorry, guys.
Oh, that's all right. Not a problem. And I promise I will get with you, though, because I know somebody who knows that quite well. So I'll get with you on it. All right. All right. Thank you so much. And we'll talk to you soon there, Shayla. All right. So getting very, very close here to time here. And wow. It's been an interesting night. We've covered a whole lot of topics, a whole lot of stuff. And
I told you open mic night would be a good thing now, didn't I?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, open mic night is always a crazy thing. You never know who's going to be calling in. I
told you I shared it among my teams, so I know my teams are watching, and they even called in.
Yeah,
some of them did.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and I think I don't have the person that I really wanted to kind of talk about this with calling in yet. I'm not sure if it's possible, but maybe we'll get this another night. But I will tell you this: there's something huge coming, something really, really huge coming, and I can't really discuss what it is now. We're really in the preliminary talks of how this is going to go and the structure of things and everything behind it. But it is very, very huge, and so I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag on that. I'm really not. I'm going to keep you in suspense on this one. But
wow, you're going to keep it a secret from me. I want to know.
No, you already know because I have to let you know. We're in on this, but yeah.
Oh, but I don't know. That's the thing.
You do, but you don't. But yeah, it's good. It's very good news, I believe, for the movement, and I'll explain why after we get it going and rolling out. But anything, here's what I've learned in this movement: never say never. And there's your hint.
Never give up.
Never say never. Yeah, never give up. That's another one. Yeah, that's a very good. Yeah.
And my favorite one is: which parent is going to get erased now?
No. Yeah. All right. So. Definitely an interesting night. We want to thank everybody for coming on and talking with us, and maybe we'll do this more often, and maybe we'll do this once.
It's a little more relaxing. It's more fun.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make sure everybody remembered November 5th at the Capitals in every state. It is the Million Mass March. It's the It's Million Mass March. Period. Y'all go out there, bring out your signs, and if you're really serious about the movement, be there.
Yep.
Bring your signs. That way everybody can coexist, whether it be police rights, animal rights, child rights, parent rights. I don't care what it is. Whatever you believe in, Second Amendment rights, patriot, all of it. Go out there, be there with your signs at the Capitals, and express your grievances on November 5th.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, play by the rules.
That's right. Absolutely. But it looks like we're getting down to our very last 5 minutes here. I'm gonna make sure I got another phone call listener. I wish I could get these in. I'm gonna talk to Zoom this week, so that way if we do this next month and we roll this through on an open mic night, I'm gonna see if I can get just phone calls to come through. I'm not for sure why this is not letting me put the phone calls in, so they're just
I have
listening.
no idea.
Yeah, I'll check with Zoom and find out why that is. Other people
But
usually can get them in, but
To
I'll
cap
figure
it
out.
off, how many people do we have on here? 4 or 5?
Yeah, at least 4 or 5 people that we had on tonight. Great show. So
There are a lot of good news. That's a lot of good
Yeah.
news. And I am very happy and proud to hear that, you know.
yeah, and there was more good news today. And unfortunately, a young lady called me. She lives in Washington. She called me on her case. I've been helping her out with her case, and they moved her out of one of the courts and moved her back into family court. I think it was dependency. They moved her out of dependency court and moved her in to the family court, and she was in tears and didn't know why. And come to find out, her case was all completely messed up and everything else. And she had an attorney, and the attorney was very happy. And she's wondering why her attorney is so happy that she got it out of that. I'm like, look, you need to relax, because this is a big win. Because here's the thing about it is, if you are getting nowhere in dependency court whatsoever, and you're not going anywhere, and you can get your attorney to move it out of that court into another court with a different judge, that's a huge win. That's a huge win, because that means you get to start all over, and you get to present your case now all over again before a brand new judge. It's like a brand new beginning.
We have 3 minutes, Jay.
Yep. All right. Well, we're down to it for this show. So as we always say on Talking Normal, keep living, keep fighting, and keep talking normal. God bless, guys.
Bless you all.
Hammer down, nailed to the wire, known by the sin of our fathers. Let it all come out and burn like a fire. We'll shout a little bit louder, 'cause the night still has 1,000 eyes. And when the truth is brought to light, you and I will be through every door, and the stakes get higher. Hard evidence is power. Turn loose a war, trade proof for the liar. We'll shout a little bit louder, 'cause secrets tell a million lies, but the truth is always brought to light. So you and I will be tell a million lies to build the walls they hide behind. But the truth is always brought to light, brought to light. Secrets tell a million lies, but the night still lasts 1,000